Cruella is often seen as a villain in stories, but today, let's explore her origins to understand her better. What's the real story behind Cruella? The film begins with Cruella recounting her story from childhood. She was born as Estella, with a distinctive head of hair half black, half white, which made her stand out. People tended to avoid her, thinking she was strange. Estella was raised by her mother, who did so alone. When Estella started school, her mother cautioned her to control her behavior. Not only did Estella have striking hair, but her personality also had dual aspects, sometimes kind and gentle, other times mean and unruly. Her mother urged her to be polite to other children and to keep her wilder side in check. Despite her mother's advice, Estella frequently got into fights at school, with her only companions being her dog and a classmate who studied with her. Estella's frequent fights led to her being expelled from school. After that, her mother decided to move to London, hoping for a fresh start. Estella had always dreamed of becoming a fashion designer, so she told her mother that moving to a big city could be the key to making her dream come true. Upon reaching London, Estella's mother heads to an old friend's place, hoping to get some help. They arrive at an enormous palace, surrounded by the sea and towering high above the ground. Before stepping out of the car, Estella's mom hands her a precious locket and firmly instructs her not to leave the vehicle. But Estella, being curious and impulsive, doesn't listen. As she ventures out of the car, Estella discovers a fashion show taking place inside the Grand Palace. Excited, she goes in, but soon 3 large dogs begin chasing her. Panicked, she sprints out, believing they might bite her. However, the dogs instead attack her mother, who had been talking to someone at that moment. Tragically, Estella's mother falls into a pit and dies on the spot. Estella is devastated, blaming herself for her mother's death. She thinks that if she had stayed in the car, none of this would have happened. As the investigation begins, Estella flees the scene, accidentally dropping the locket her mother gave her. Overwhelmed with guilt and regret, she believes that if she had obeyed her mom, she would still be alive, and those dogs wouldn't have attacked. With tears streaming down her face, Estella jumps into a garbage truck, finding herself on her way to London. Once there, she meets 2 young boys who seem as homeless and lost as she feels. Estella decides to follow them, leading her to the place they call home. The 2 boys welcome Estella, and when they realize she has nowhere to go, they invite her to join them. The first thing Estella does is dye her hair, hoping to blend in with other girls. This becomes her new look, and from then on, she regularly colors her hair. The story then jumps ahead by 10 years. The 3 have grown up and have become a team of skilled thieves, known for their small-scale crimes like pickpocketing and petty theft. Despite their criminal activities, Estella stands out for her unique fashion sense, designing special outfits for herself and her 2 friends. Her knack for fashion has always been a part of her, even since childhood. One day, Estella begins to reflect on her life, feeling she's not living up to her mother's expectations. She dreams of working at London's prestigious Liberty store, where top fashion designers are employed. As a surprise for her birthday, her friend manages to secure her a job at Liberty. However, instead of being hired as a fashion designer, Estella is assigned to cleaning duties, scrubbing bathrooms, and mopping floors. Estella finds the work exhausting and unfulfilling. She repeatedly asks her boss for a chance to prove her fashion skills, but he never listens. On one particular night, Estella is tasked with staying overnight to clean the entire building, feeling increasingly frustrated and overlooked. That night, Estella grabbed a bottle of liquor from her boss's office and began drinking. She got so drunk that she lost track of her actions. In her intoxicated state, she scribbled something on the outside window and decorated a store mannequin however she pleased. The following morning, a crowd gathered outside to see what Estella had done. She had fallen asleep among the chaos, completely unaware of the spectacle she had created. When her boss arrived, he was furious and ready to fire her on the spot. But just then, London's top fashion designer, the Baroness, entered the scene. She was impressed by the decorated display window and mannequin, praising Estella's creativity. The Baroness immediately hired Estella, saying she had never seen such a beautifully arranged display in all her years in fashion. From that moment on, Estella's life changed. The following day, she showed up at the Baroness's office, feeling both nervous and excited. As she began working, the Baroness appreciated her style and unique approach. Within a few days, Estella became one of the Baroness's most trusted workers. Everything seemed to be going well, and Estella felt fulfilled in her new role. However, One day, she noticed the Baroness kept her jewelry in a secret compartment. Although Estella was thrilled with her job, her discovery hinted at the possibility of something more. For now, Estella was happy, believing she had finally achieved her dream of becoming a fashion designer. One day, Estella noticed something that made her heart skip a beat. The locket the Baroness was wearing was the same one her mother had given her the night she died. It was the same locket that Estella had lost when she fled the scene. Confused and upset, she asked the Baroness about it, who casually replied that it was her locket, but it had been stolen by a woman several years ago. The Baroness was insinuating that Estella's mom was a thief, and this accusation made Estella furious. Determined to get the locket back, Estella shared the whole story with her friends. They hatched a plan to steal the locket during the Baroness's upcoming party. Estella's friends would handle the technical parts. One would disable the CCTV cameras, while the other would access the security systems. Estella herself would attend the party, where everyone was expected to wear black and white. To stand out, she donned a striking red gown, aiming to draw everyone's attention. With a mask to conceal her identity, Estella's bold outfit created a stir at the party. The plan was to use this distraction to gain access to the locket. However, Estella was taken aback when she saw that the Baroness was wearing the locket around her neck, not stored in the safe as they'd anticipated. This unexpected twist meant Estella would have to think quickly on her feet, figuring out how to get the locket without blowing her cover. The Baroness didn't recognize Estella at the party because she had transformed into Cruella, a persona that her mother had always warned her to avoid. At the event, the Baroness grew envious of Cruella, as she captured everyone's attention with her striking red gown. It was supposed to be the Baroness's party, yet all eyes were on someone else, which infuriated her. To create a distraction, one of Estella's friends set a dish filled with rats in front of the Baroness, causing her to scream in shock. The chaos that ensued gave Estella the perfect opportunity to snatch the locket from around the Baroness's neck and throw it toward her dog. The Baroness saw this and whistled, a specific call that summoned the same 3 dogs that had attacked Estella's mother all those years ago. One of the dogs grabbed the locket and swallowed it. This scene brought back painful memories for Estella, who realized these were the same dogs responsible for her mother's death. The Baroness's whistle confirmed that she was the one who had set the dogs on Estella's mom, revealing her as the true murderer. Estella returned to her friends, sharing the grim discovery. The shocking truth pushed her to vow revenge against the Baroness. She decided to fully embrace her darker, more rebellious side, reasoning that being good had gotten her nowhere. This was the moment when Estella fully embraced her transformation into Cruella. As Cruella, she reconnects with a childhood friend who is now a journalist. Estella had seen her at the party the previous night and decided to reveal her new persona. She told her friend that she was about to pull off something big. Cruella then briefed her 2 partners in crime on her plan, which involved kidnapping the Baroness's dogs and bringing a renowned fashion designer to her hideout. Estella, still posing as the innocent and unassuming office girl, continued to work at the Baroness's office to keep tabs on her. This allowed her to plan her next moves with precision. Cruella orchestrated a series of spectacular public appearances at the Baroness's fashion shows, each time with a different entrance to captivate the audience. Her bold antics and unique styles stole the spotlight, overshadowing the Baroness at every turn. The Baroness was livid, considering filing a lawsuit against Cruella to put an end to her antics. She even sought help from her journalist friend to uncover Cruella's whereabouts, but the friend knew nothing about Cruella's hideout. Estella, however, remained focused on her mission. For the next event, she designed a stunning gown, using special shells imported from South America. This gown was intended to impress and disrupt the Baroness's next show. However, knowing that the Baroness might try to steal her designs, Cruella took precautions by locking the gown in a large safe. Cruella's plan was not just about showmanship. It also had a dark side. The Baroness's dog, which Cruella had kidnapped, played a part in the scheme. Estella told her friends that she could make a beautiful coat from the dog's skin, a remark that foreshadowed the extreme lengths she was willing to go to exact revenge on the Baroness. The day of the show arrived, and the Baroness was ready to unveil her collection. But when she opened the safe where her designer outfits were stored, a swarm of flies erupted, causing chaos. The shells that Estella had used in her gown turned out to be fly eggs, which hatched and ruined the Baroness's event. As everyone fled the scene, Estella, in her Cruella persona, was conducting her own show elsewhere. drawing all the attention. The Baroness realized that Estella and Cruella were the same person. She also suspected that Cruella had killed her dogs to make a coat from their skins. Furious, the Baroness ordered her men to find Estella's friends and capture them. When Estella returned home after her show, she found her friends chained up by the Baroness's henchmen. The Baroness's men tied up Estella, set her hideout on fire, and took the dogs, revealing that Estella hadn't harmed them. The fire engulfed the building, and it seemed like Estella's fate was sealed. However, the next morning, Estella woke up in an unfamiliar room, confused but alive. A servant entered with tea and revealed the truth about her past. The servant explained that the Baroness was Estella's biological mother and had ordered him to kill her at birth. Instead, he gave Estella to a maid, ensuring her survival. The servant also returned Estella's locket, saying her father had transferred all his property to her before he died. The revelation that the Baroness was her real mother and had tried to have her killed left Estella devastated. Her first priority was to free her friends, who were imprisoned by the Baroness's men. Now aware of her true lineage, Estella had more reason than ever to seek justice and make sure the Baroness paid for her crimes. Estella's friends, those with whom she'd grown up, had been arrested by the Baroness on false charges related to Estella's murder. To free them, Estella hatched a clever plan with their help. On the night of the Baroness's party, Estella sent hand-stitched outfits to all the guests, making sure everyone wore the same attire. Meanwhile, the Baroness had learned that Estella was still alive and was ready for her. The party was held in the same palace where the Baroness had killed Estella's stepmother, the maid who had raised her. Back then, the maid had approached the Baroness to request money to care for Estella, only to be pushed off a cliff by the Baroness. Now, at the party, all the guests arrived in the identical outfits Estella had sent, each wearing a wig resembling her iconic hairstyle. This made it nearly impossible for the Baroness to single out Estella. During the party, the Baroness's dogs began running outside, and Estella was there to meet them, holding the same whistle the Baroness had used to control them. The dogs came running at the whistle's sound. Estella then confronted the Baroness, revealing everything about her past. At first, the Baroness pretended to be remorseful, even hugging Estella, but then she suddenly pushed her off the balcony. However, the Baroness's plan backfired. Estella had anticipated this and wore a custom-designed suit with a hidden parachute, which deployed just before she hit the ground, saving her life. Additionally, Cruella's friends had gathered the party guests outside to witness the Baroness's treachery. The police, seeing the Baroness's attempt to kill Estella, arrested her for the murder of her daughter. Estella's life was far from over. She had transitioned completely into her Cruella persona. With the Baroness arrested and her friends freed, Estella felt that her mother's death had been avenged. She was ready to embrace her new life as Cruella, with her own story to tell. The film's story ends with her journey toward her next adventure, having found closure and happiness in her own way.